And a very warm welcome to our last session of this morning, which is about cyber resilience. So from compliance to capability, and let's solve the European Cyber Resilience Challenge, hopefully with some solutions. My name is Milda Basulita. I am a Senior Executive Director at Digital Europe, and I have to apologize because I'm stepping in last minute, because unfortunately, with all these changes in temperatures here in Brussels, our original moderator fell ill. So please excuse me if I make some mistakes today. First of all, of course, I would like to ask our distinguished panelists to join me here on stage. And today we have really an impressive lineup of speakers. So if I may, first of all, ask Jean-Charles Ellerman-Kinkombe, Secretary General for Cyber and Digital Transformation from NATO, to join me. Hello. Excellent. Next one, please, Despina Sponu, Deputy Director General for Communications Network and Technology from European Commission. Thank you. Welcome. Jeffrey Appledon from VP Missions ESA EU from ICEYE. Welcome. Johan Lepasar, Executive Director from ENISA. Welcome.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nana Louise Linde, Vice President of European Government Affairs from Microsoft. And last but not least, Karianne Tung, Minister of Digitalization and Public Governance from Norway. Welcome, Karianne.
Hello, hello.
Fantastic. What an impressive lineup of speakers, really. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So very briefly, what are we going to do today and how the session will look like? Actually, Jean-Charles was so kind to make my job even easier because he kindly agreed to set the scene for today's discussion. So we will start with Jean-Charles, and then I will actually pass to the panelists to reflect maybe what Jean-Charles said or ask them a couple of questions. And while we are speaking, actually our audience has a job to do, because there are a couple of questions. You know the drill already. There is a slideshow, you scan the QR code, you look at the questions, you answer them, and we will look at the answers more or less midterm. But before we do that, please, Jean-Charles, the scene is yours. We are looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. And I've been asked to seen from a NATO perspective, take the temperature on cybersecurity. And I think the short version is, we remain vulnerable. Last year, we saw several high-profile cyber incidents in allied countries. Large organizations, including critical infrastructure operators, falling victim to unsophisticated cyber attacks. Despite significant progress in building resilience, championed by both NATO and the EU, this demonstrates the job is far from done. We are, as I said, still vulnerable. But last year also saw the first signs of what is to come. AI providing increased capabilities to cyber threat actors. We see emerging capabilities that enable an individual to develop malware within the week at a sophistication level that would have ordinarily taken a nation-state level team for months. There is increasing evidence that malicious hackers are leveraging AI tools to support large-scale cyber attacks, and there is little doubt that this trend will intensify. As the threat landscape deteriorates further, our defenses must evolve in kind. And as we increase our defenses, we clearly see our dependencies on civilian critical infrastructure, some of which is owned or operated by private sector actors, which is essential for military operations and which is being actively targeted by malicious actors. So when we talk about NATO and national resilience against cyber threats, we're working to strengthen our society's defenses in ways that directly support our national and allied security right onto the battlefield. This dynamic clearly demonstrates the need for a step change in approaches to building cyber resilience. We need the most innovative capabilities in the hands of defenders today. If critical providers do not use automated AI-driven capabilities to find and fix vulnerabilities, then our adversaries will use the same capabilities to exploit them. This not only applies to the backlog of vulnerable systems, but also to fixing vulnerabilities in products and services before they reach the market. NATO has long advocated for strong industry partnership to meet the security challenges of today. We must continue on this track, showcasing the best solutions from the 32 national ecosystems. NATO and the EU are both effective forums for sharing knowledge on mutual security challenges. In partnership with industry, we can do more to share knowledge on the solutions. And there is no time to waste. So with these words, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean-Charles. It's indeed no time to waste. It's absolutely critical that we act right now. And Despina, if I may turn first to you. We of course heard from Jean-Charles that we remain vulnerable. We know that we need to ensure the security and trust. But we also know that we have quite fragmented situation across the member states. I know you're working very hard on this right now with the revision of the Cybersecurity Act, but also implementation of the NIS2 directive. How is the Commission going to achieve this balance between reducing fragmentation, but also ensuring the security and trust are in place?
Thank you very much, and thank you for prompting us to discuss the right things, bringing us a little bit to the current reality, because when we discuss about cybersecurity rules, it is no longer about the impact of costs, etc., etc. Today, the risk of fragmentation, in fact, I would have put it on your slide as one of the possible threats. Fragmentation risks to become a threat to the European Union for the simple reason that one's weakness becomes everybody's weakness. We are so interconnected between the 27 of us. As sovereign as we are by member state, as connected we are as EU. So the problem we have with fragmentation is that if we don't all up our game, the ones who don't will become the weaklings. So this is what we're trying to deal with. We're no longer talking about fragmentation of laws. We're talking about the fragmentation of security levels. And this is serious. So what are we doing? The NIS2 is a point of reference for all of you in this room. It is our way of ensuring that critical infrastructure operators have very high cybersecurity standards. We had NIS1, it was properly implemented, or at least to a large extent. Then we came with NIS2 to extend the scope of what is a critical operator. And we have a fragmentation because some member states have not yet completed the so-called transposition, so to transfer them into national law. Should that matter? Legally speaking, yes, it matters. But in reality, it shouldn't. Operators should adapt their standards according to the law, NIS2, in all member states. They don't have to wait for the completion of the legal processes, which can take long. We have understanding for that. So I think it's very important that there the private world plays its role to break down the fragmentation. That's one. Then fragmentation can also come, again, from certain weaknesses in the supply chain. The big talk of the town, and why I'm invited to most panels these days, is not because, you know, I'm very good, but because of the supply chain proposal we made in the Cybersecurity Act that interests the whole world, actually. What is this about? This is again about fragmentation of security, because some member states have done the work, others have not. We have parts of Europe where high-risk vendors are prevalent, and others where they're not. So this has to stop. And this cannot stop from one day to the next. This needs a process. It needs a correct process. It needs a proper risk assessments. It risk identified where key assets can be affected by such high-risk vendors. And then you need proper market measures to ensure that you can fill in the gap that such de-risking will leave behind. It's not simple to de-risk from high-risk vendors. So this is a huge fragmentation task we need to undertake as European Commission to help the member states deal with how we make sure that all these dependencies do not become vulnerabilities because of the presence of high-risk vendors, and how do we make sure that the whole chain, the whole supply chain in our ICT systems meets the same high level of cybersecurity standards. We are known in the European Union as champions of cyber rules. I do not think that is right. It's not about the rules. All we have done is simply make sure that the 27 of us have a common understanding and a common level of high cybersecurity. That's what it is about. And here we're talking about security. So it's not about championing regulation, because I saw that again in the risks. We have to stop talking about regulation. Here it is about upping our security game at a time when the world is no longer the same place. And whoever does not do their job, whoever waits behind until a law is passed or we deal with how we reduce the level of the laws, will be our weak link. In our recent proposal, and I will close with that, for the Cybersecurity Act, we also proposed a small directive that also simplifies NIS2 for operators. This is our offer to the operators to make sure that you do not have to be fragmented yourselves from the transposition of European rules. So this is one proposal that we hope will go fast and will help operators adapt faster. And we did the same with a single entry point in the digital omnibus, which is also about ensuring that when you're dealing with a cyber incident, with any type of breach, you're able to report quickly, because that helps authorities equip themselves with the right defenses across the European Union, while you do not have to deal with bureaucracy anymore. So this is our way of simplifying rules so that they're more easily met, so that we can prepare ourselves better, and also equipping ourselves with the right vendors in our supply chains. I think these are two of the most obvious ways that we're dealing with the new landscape in cybersecurity.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Despina, and you very nicely spelled it out. I very much liked how you said that one's weakness is everyone's weaknesses. It's absolutely right. And also, of course, like we heard from Jean-Charles, that we remain vulnerable. So I turn now to you, Johan. You definitely saw how vulnerable we are. You've been leading ENISA's work since before and during the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by aggressor. And where do we still remain the most vulnerable in the EU?
Thanks for inviting me in this panel. It's always a pleasure to be back. So I don't need to invent the wheel. I mean, there was a State of Cybersecurity in the Union report, which was published by ENISA, and we submitted this report to the European Parliament 24. We will be a second report this year. It makes 6 recommendations to deal with systemic risks at the EU level. And Deputy Director General has already highlighted the most important one, which is supply chain risk. And the recommendation was, let's build an EU ecosystem to tackle these risks. So thank you, Despina, for putting the proposal out there. But now is the time for the Parliament and the Member States to act upon it and really put it in place, but also then the private sector to actually follow up, and that's the tricky part. Now, I'm not going to name all the 6 recommendations there, but I think I'm just going to pick one, and I'm going to just exemplify what is going on right now. One of the big issues that we have in Europe is that our internal market is riddled with products which have vulnerabilities. 2019, there were more than 19,000 vulnerabilities added to the vulnerability database. Last year, the number was more than 40,000, an increase of 150%. Why does it matter? Well, first of all, of course, if you have a vulnerability in your system, threat actors might use it and then take your data, do bad things, steal your intellectual property. What we've seen now is a very worrisome trend where this ecosystem, which is vulnerable, coupled with technological developments, and namely AI, creates a maelstrom. We are in the brink of the storm that is coming towards us, and we do not have the understanding how to deal with it. What we see is more and more threat actors utilizing AI capabilities, sharing these capabilities. Last year, 80% of phishing was AI-enabled. What private sector, all of you have already foreseen, is that AI is utilized to write malware. There are already malware families out there which are AI-enabled. This is a huge arena to work on, and we can only do that together. And I'll just start with the one last issue, which is post-quantum. I'm just going to use this time in order to raise this topic here. And whenever people say post-quantum, there is a tendency to say, ooh, quantum. It's not actually a rocket science. It's the same risk management method. There are blueprints out there, there are toolboxes out there are guidelines out there. So we know how to do it, take proportional measures in order to tackle the risks that are ahead of us. What we need is time and resources. So you need to start now to be ready in 2030.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Johan. I heard that actually Jean-Charles was listening very attentively when the Commission was speaking and ENISA. And of course, like also what Johan said, that we definitely need to cooperate. That's clear. The law, the proposal is out. We all need to do our job, the private sector as well. But the cooperation is also, I think, crucial between the EU and NATO. Isn't it? So maybe how do you see it, Jean-Charles, that cooperation between the two? Who takes what responsibility?
I think there is an obvious division of labor. I think what Despina described, not least NIS2, is a fundamental tool in terms of providing broader resilience across our societies, which is very important because our adversaries in a war situation will first try to undermine that resilience. We saw in Ukraine how even before the conflict, they were attacking cyberspace, trying to take out energy grids. And as we've been seeing through the conflict, where kinetic attacks on the energy infrastructure, it has been also followed through with cyber attacks. So I think EU on resilience, NIS2, super important. For us, we are a military organization. We have defense plans. We are meant to defend citizens of the 32 nations. Those plans are staffed with soldiers and equipment, the 3.5% of GDP. But we also reliant on mobility, on infrastructure, on harbors, on energy refineries to execute those plans. And it doesn't serve us a lot to have the finest, strongest, well-resourced army if we get stuck in Rotterdam Harbor because they've been taken out by a cyber attack. So what we're doing now at NATO, we are mapping in very detailed fashion the infrastructure points, nodes on which we're relying. And then we'll have a conversation with nations about, one, ensuring the preparedness of that infrastructure, but also ensuring its physical protection, and not least also ensuring its cyber protection. So I think here there is we have the defense perspective, but the broader society resilience, I think the EU is doing a very good job, and I think we have a good complementarity in what we do.
Excellent. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jean-Charles. Let me hear a little bit now from the private sector. Jeffrey, you come from Finland. You are working for a company that has grown into a world leader in SAR. First of all, you will have to tell us what SAR is. And secondly, if I may, what is needed for you, for your company, for your satellite technology? What is needed from the EU? What is needed from your partners to actually make sure that your satellites, they have the capabilities ready for the next crisis?
Well, thank you, first off, for inviting me here. happy to be here. Yeah, maybe a little bit background about ICEYE, because I guess not everybody knows the company. So the company is a defense technology company based in Finland. We operate and own the largest SAR radar constellation in the world, by far. And we're increasing our production facilities quite significantly. This year we'll be able to produce 1 satellite per week, which is a lot. I mentioned the abbreviation SAR, so synthetic aperture radar. So that's the instrument that we developed in a miniaturized form. And with this instrument, we can make images up to 16 centimeters of resolution. And the really big advantage of SAR versus optical or imaging like camera systems is it's all day and night. So we can make pictures as well through clouds, through smoke, through volcanic ashes. So we're always on, which is a huge difference between us and optical systems. So the lessons, what we have learned the last 3 years, is that the lines between cyber and physical attacks and conflicts is blurring. Just an example, you might remember the undersea cable in the Baltic between Finland and Estonia. It got damaged. And this is a cyber attack, but not in a traditional sense. Like it was an attack on our digital infrastructure, but not as how it used to be. So cyber frameworks, they control or address the digital side, but the gap is actually monitoring the physical side. So what you actually need is a persistent all-weather system that is monitoring your gas lines, your energy sector, borders, ports, as well as my colleague said earlier. And SAR is the tool to do it for. So we've also mentioned Ukraine during this talk as well. So I think 2 big lessons that we learned from Ukraine is one, that the access to an satellite-based constellation, which at its core uses SAR radar, it has been the decisive factor in modern warfare. Just in 1 year, more than 7,000 SAR images were made. 38% were actually utilized to actively target attacks. So it's a huge impact. The second lesson that we learned is being dependent on intelligence on others is a strategic vulnerability. Sovereignty really matters. So at the moment, there are 8 different European nations which are already utilizing and have procured ICEYE SAR satellite systems. So just by heart, so we have Greece, Portugal, the Netherlands, Finland, Sweden, Poland, Germany, and also Ukraine. So we have a system already in place. Like it's not on paper, it's reality, it's there. But just coming back then also to answering the question. So Europe does not have to start from scratch. Like there are elements in space that the sovereign systems do exist. And as Commissioner Kubilius mentioned a couple of weeks ago at the space conference in Brussels, is that the space capabilities of countries are increasing, but as you also said, there is more fragmentation happening. And the key is federation. So federating these systems, and a federated satellite system by nature is sovereign, by design is interoperable. So if we have these systems in Europe, we can create a collective situation awareness that monitors the physical boundaries and physical layers that are attacked by these kind of cyber attacks. So looking at what concrete steps that we have that Europe can do is we should treat these sovereign satellite systems as core resilience infrastructure at the same level as like digital defense and energy security.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a very, very good point, and thank you very much for raising that. If I may immediately turn to you, Karianne, you come from one of the most digitalized nations today, and of course, you done a lot, and I know that you have lots of lessons that maybe you could share with us today. Jeffrey actually did not mention Norway, one of the countries using the technology, but I'm sure you are. So maybe you can be a little bit more practical. How did you achieve this level of digitalization, and also what kind of concrete steps you took to ensure the protection of critical infrastructure?
Yes. I'm the Minister of Digitalization in Norway, and in Norway we don't just talk about cyber attacks, we experienced it. So let me start there. I've been a minister now for 2.5 years. When I started in October 2023, I was without a calendar and email on my phone because there has been a cyber attack towards the ministries in Norway. And we can say, well, being without calendar and email on the phone, is that an issue? Well, it is about the ability for a government to act. We had to shut it down because of the attack. We were compromised. So now we are building a new ICT platform, but this is for real. This is happening. So we had some tough lessons in Norway regarding this as well. Working with, we are a digitalized country. We are working on getting even better, but when digitalization runs across society, we have to work all the time with resilience and security as well. So it is about identifying the infrastructures, the hardware, the system, the software that you have. It is about assessing the risks, and it is about implementing different measures. I don't have the time to run through everything that we are doing, but I just want to pinpoint something. This autumn, we launched a new security plan for our digital infrastructure, where we are doing the risk assessments, but where we are building resilience and robustness as well in different parts. We have established different response teams, which is also sector-specific for municipalities, for the health tech sector, for financial sector, where we have dedicated response teams that helps out sharing information when it comes to cyber, both tackling but also information sharing. And we are working very closely also with private companies to deal with the incidents when they happen. Because Norway is a small country, we have good competence, but we don't have enough. So that's why we're working together, public and private sector, with our National Security Authority, and also together with different companies when companies are affected by these incidents, because they do happen. We are very good at rehearsing when it comes to fire. You know where you're going to go if a fire happens, but we have to do better in rehearsing on cyber attacks as well. So that is also one thing that we are doing. We are rehearsing together, public, private sector, but also civil and military all together when these things happen, so that we can share each other's capabilities when these things happen. Building competence, education, of course, and then last but not least, to think security in everything that we do. Of course, being a minister, I have a lot of policies that I want to make come true. I want to have a good public sector. Talking about digitalization security in this matter is about balancing as well, because you have to be secure. If everything is secure, everything is closed. But as like public sector, it has to be transparent as well. And also you want it user-friendly for the bureaucrats and everyone working on these systems to work right. So you have to balance like the security, the transparency, and the user-friendliness. And then to be able to do so, we have to work with the companies, because we can't have the competence alone, but also to take responsibility as a government and as authority. So that are some of the tracks that we are trying to kind of go along in parallel. And if we are lucky, we are also able then to add on building new companies working with cybersecurity as well when we are thinking cybersecurity. And we are doing that as well. And we have lovely companies here attending this conference as well as Secure Practice doing that as well. So I really believe in the cooperation when it comes to these matters.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Karina. And indeed, like with these words, you strongly believe in cooperation. I think we heard this from several speakers already today. And Nana Louise, I'm turning to you. You come from Microsoft. Of course, Microsoft made strong commitments to ensure Europe's cyber resilience. You are working with governments. You have lots of experience from different member states in Europe and beyond. I very much appreciated Karian's listing the concrete examples of cooperation. And I want to ask you, could you share with us some excellent examples that your company did in terms of cooperation with the public sector?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for having me. And indeed, collaboration is the theme of this panel, it seems. 85% of the digital infrastructure is owned by private sector. So that, I think, speaks to itself, that we need to work together. We work together with governments, with NATO, and we see it real time in Ukraine. In Ukraine, we are really first line responders. We are helping with threat intelligence information. We are the only company or government, for that sake, who has this kind of information. So we feel very big responsibility to share what we are seeing, so that the Ukrainian government can respond and prevent the cyber attack. And this theme of collaboration was also the theme of the, I don't know if you saw earlier this week, an article in the Financial Times where senior military leaders call for collaboration also with US companies, because they said we simply need each other. It's so sophisticated now, and we need the capabilities that they bring. And of course, governments, when they work with a private company like us, they need to make sure that we can ensure them resilience and sovereignty. And that was actually the background of a commitment we made together with 16 other tech companies worldwide. There were some Europeans there, was driven by Ericsson, but there was SAP and others, where we commit to certain standards to ensure resilience and that we live up to certain standards, such as robust data privacy system, transparency, interoperability, rule of law, respect of rule of law. And so that is like one concrete initiative. That does not mean, of course, that we don't need regulation. We are big believers in NIS2, the Cybersecurity Act. We think the revision of the Cybersecurity Act is going in the right direction. We like the bigger mandate for ENISA, the more resources. So 100% need regulation as well. I think the main point is, you know, if we really should be, in Europe, will be effective in a time of crisis, in a time of war, then we need to start working together now. And be prepared, make sure that we have information flow, that we have the infrastructure we need, that there is almost like a preparedness plan, where also governments and institutions understand what can they expect from a company like ours. So we launched another initiative that we call the European Government Program, where we are offering the same kind of threat intelligence sharing with European governments as we give in Ukraine, of course, for free.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Anna-Louise. It was very interesting also to come back to, again, mentioning the key legislations as well that we have in Europe and with the Cybersecurity Act revision. And I think we heard a lot of good information from all the distinguished speakers. And actually, I wanted to look a little bit what the audience thinks. But before doing that, I wonder if anybody would like to react quickly to your fellow panelists' remarks. Jean-Charles, I saw you were taking notes, if I may.
Maybe 3 quick points. First, the minister spoke about exercises. I strongly agree. This is also an area where NATO and EU work together. We do exercises together. That's important. We also do exercises with industry. One point. Second point is, I also strongly agree with my neighbor about supply chain. And I think we've had for a number of years, we've been clear about the threat. I think we have an obligation to act on that threat in terms of our supply chain resilience. And finally, in terms of working with industry, we are at NATO, we are building a NATO Integrated Cyber Center, where all 32 nations will be residing. Their industry will also have a place around the table, because industry sits on piles of data. They're owning much of the critical infrastructure on which we rely. So we need to have industry around the table together with governments.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jean-Charles. Despina.
Well, I mean, you see already the convergence of understanding between EU and NATO when Jean-Charles speaks. And
That's wonderful.
I think it's a necessity in today's geopolitical order. I wanted to touch base on a couple of things that were said. You already mentioned the exercises, cables, very important element. At the end of the day, today we cannot see cyber outside the scope of hybrid threats. This is what it is about, because every incident has two sides. This is why we also now, beyond rules and regulations and directives and whatever proposals we make, we have also gone for direct action plans. In the area of cables, we already propose an action plan that goes exactly to the heart of how do you prevent, respond, remedy. Very important that we have collective remedies for damaged cables, immediate response, and how you detect better, how to use technology to detect better. So that's one area, and we did exactly the same. We went from undersea to above the sky for drones recently, with an action plan on drones, where again it is all built on collaboration between member states to stop the fragmentation, but also built on public-private partnership. And whoever decides to pick the bill will be the champion of security when it comes to our work on drones, which again is based on better detection, better prevention, but also how to use drone capacity to respond as part of our defense capacity. I wanted to touch base on the alliance that you announced recently. This is a fantastic initiative. 16 companies from 11 countries, actually. I think this is great. But when, allow me to take this opportunity of really a fantastic group of people in this room to say that when companies come together with such partnerships, we would also like to see the meaning that they will champion implementation of the rules. You had mentioned how our supply of digital products is full of vulnerabilities. The Cyber Resilience Act that comes into force at the end of this year is aimed to address that. Products in the market that are secure by design. Yeah. And I think we want to see companies also creating alliances that will say we will be the champions of implementing these rules that actually show to people, be that citizens or buyers, that we champion security in our products. So this is also another call I want to take the opportunity to make.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Despina. Nana-Louise, just before I give you the floor, I just know that Karianna really has to run off stage in a little bit more than 3 minutes. Just maybe a very quick remark from you, Karianna, like what we just heard from Despina on the undersea cables. Of course, you must have lots of experience there. Would you like to reflect very briefly on this?
Of course, Norway has a lot of sea and a lot of cables, and we are cooperating quite well with other Nordic countries and the Baltic countries as well on this perspective. It is about identifying, assess the risk, and implement the necessary measures to keep it resilient and keep it robust, and we have a plan for that. And also for Norway's, or from Norway's point of view, a close collaboration with the European Union is absolutely necessary, and we have the EEA agreement with the EU, and we are trying to participate as the best we can in different EU bodies as well. And when it comes to security and building tech, we want to be a part of that as well. So that's the important key priorities from Norway right now. Thank you for having me on the panel. Unfortunately, I have to run. It's been a pleasure being here.
Excellent.
Hope to see you again.
Thank you very much, Karianna, and apologies to that. If that's okay, we will continue for a few, few more minutes. If that's all right.
Thank you. Have to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Nana-Louise, sorry I interrupted you.
No, I just wanted to
reflect on something
respond because you're absolutely right, and there is actually language in there about respect of the rule of law, and I will take your feedback back. Maybe we should put something more concrete language in there around implementation. I have a request back. Don't make rules that makes it too hard for us to help when we want to help. So some of this by European, I think what Matt said in Munich Security Conference, I think is very good. Made for Europe, in respect of European values and European legislation. That's what we should focus on.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Annelies. Johan, please.
Yeah, no, just final remarks. I'm sure everybody knows the saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. So in cybersecurity, what the minister said, essentially, if you want resilience, know your risks and tackle them. And I do agree with the premise of this panel as well, is that it's not about regulating. The regulation is there to put the vision out there, and the vision is high common level of cybersecurity. So to achieve a common level of cybersecurity, we need to do it together. And it's about cybersecurity in the end of it. It's not about writing rules. We are on the right track in this, that we built a vision, and we are now implementing it.
Thank you very much, Johan. Before I turn to Jeffrey, may I ask my colleagues to put on the screen the answers to the polling questions that we had? Thank you very much. While they are putting, please, Jeffrey, you wanted to reflect on something.
Yeah. I just wanted to come back on the discussion we had on the cables as well. So this connection between the physical and the digital. So I think I think it's important that we're discussing this and that one doesn't go without the other. And as I said in my brief start, like the federated system is the key there. Like the assets are there. It is up to us now to connect them. It's up to us to have the pace. Like if there's an aggressor, like if you have a piece of paper, it doesn't work. Like you have to have systems in place to do this and to be able to monitor. So for me, that is more the message, like we have it. The technology exists, the procurement mechanisms exist. Like as I mentioned, there are already a big number of European countries that are using our system. Most recently, Germany signed a very big deal with us. Ukraine has been using our systems for almost a complete war. So I think Europe has the capabilities, but it's really about pace and connecting the dots.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I think we could. I see Annelies also wants to jump in. I think we can really continue the discussion, but we stand between lunch and so it's a very difficult competition here. So, and indeed, Erasmus is hot. So I just want to very quickly have a look at the screen. We asked our audience, what do they think? Is Europe over-regulating cybersecurity at the expense of speed and innovation? So actually, the answer we have it's okay. Despina, are you voting? Keep on voting. I see. Excellent. So I think that our audience thinks that actually the problem is not regulation, but inconsistent implementation.
I have people out there voting.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And just as we close, I would like to ask our distinguished panelists to summarize this panel in 1 or 2 words. What are you taking away from this discussion? Jean-Charles.
The need to do more and do it together.
Thank you. Despina.
I take away the outcome of this Slido, that the problem is not regulation. Actually, regulation makes Europe stronger. The problem is right implementation, which we have to do together.
Thank you. Annelies.
We need collaboration, and we need to be prepared in peacetime for when a real crisis hit us.
Thank you. Jeffrey.
For me, the cyber infrastructure is not just that. It is connected to the physical infrastructure, and we have to treat it together, and we have to have systems to be able to monitor the physical infrastructure.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you. Johan.
Stop finding excuses.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all of you. It was a pleasure to talk to you today. And please, dear guests, let's thank our panelists.